Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is also not tolerating a man who thinks you should have the same rights as livestock. Welcome back to another episode of Stay at Home Feminist. Your soft girl era starts here, along with the fall of the patriarchy. I'm your host, Binx, and today we're tackling a subject that needs to be discussed loudly. In this episode, we'll dive into why there should not be enough space in your relationship for misogyny. Like if there's enough space in your love story for casual sexism and outdated gender roles, then girl, I hate to break it to you, but you are in a throuple with the patriarchy. Not fun, not ideal. So let's dive into how misogyny sneaks into even the most modern relationships. Why so many women are defending patriarchal dynamics even though they do not have to, and what a misogyny-free relationship might look like. And is it even possible? The lesbians listening are like, yeah, bitch, it's possible. Just date women. But for the point of this episode, I will be mainly tackling heterosexual relationships and heteronormative sort of roles and those gender roles. But obviously this applies to every person in every relationship on some level, because we live in a patriarchal world where these standards are just like very much indoctrinated into us from cradle to the grave. So take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Let's dive in. Have you ever looked at a man you were dating and been like, oh my gosh, if I wasn't so blinded by his affection or his need for validation, I might actually really hate this guy's take on politics or gender roles or what he wants out of a future wife? Because same, I've been there. I have been there. You're not alone. It happens to the best of us. It's giving Sarah from Love is Blind what season just passed? 8, 6? I don't know. Anyways, I think this happens so often because women are taught to like be pick-me's, to want to be chosen by men. And when dating, they're like, I hope he chooses me. I hope he chooses me. And because we're taught to operate that way, we don't always think, okay, but is this a good fit for me? If you're so worried about being chosen, you're like not critically thinking about like, but what do I want? And is this actually a good fit for me? So I think that's why this happens so much, especially in like early relationships for girls and women, like when they're younger, and hopefully you learn from your mistakes and learn not to do that. But yeah, it happens a lot and it happens to the best of us. So there's no shame in this whatsoever because, I mean, think about it. Women are taught to help men, support men, guide men, be patient with men, and to tolerate them. So when you think of all of these patriarchal norms that are baked into the way women operate, especially with male partners, it's no wonder we wouldn't be patient and gentle and tolerant of their misogyny. And I think it's like we hear so often in women being like, I could fix him. And this is another version of that, where if women are seeing these signs, they're like, it's easy to downplay or just think that you can help them, you can guide them, you can change them. And like, it is not your job, girl. It is not your job. You do not need to be doing all of that. So what are subtle ways that misogyny sneaks into relationships? Here are some everyday red flags. I think if you ask for someone's outlook and they say that they're just traditional, that is code for I expect my woman to cook for me, clean for me, and basically be emotional support human. You know, it's like, are you looking for a partner, a teammate, and a spouse, or are you looking for a pseudo mom, nanny, sex toy, baby machine? And this is an important one, women, because I don't know very many women who want to be the latter in their relationship. Even in the beginning, once you're like, I can do this. This is fun. Even if you like cooking, even if you like cleaning, even if you like those things, like it gets old. It gets old. Speaking of which, this leads us to the next red flag, which is the emotional labor gap. Are you his girlfriend, his mom, and his unpaid therapist? Because red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag. Another red flag is weaponized incompetence. I actually learned this term on TikTok. And so if you're on the algorithm that I'm on, you've probably heard about this. And it's a major red flag. It's basically men being like, I don't know how to load the dishwasher the right way. So that you're like, I'll just do it. If he can run a fantasy football league, but can't put his socks away in the right drawer or can't load a dishwasher, that's a choice. That is a choice, babe. That is a choice. And a red flag for us women that we do often is the cool girl trap, where we feel pick-me pressure to tolerate bad behavior to seem low maintenance. This is a red flag, women. You are the red flag. You are the red flag if you are doing the cool girl trap. Please don't. Please don't. We've all been there. I'm super cool girl, super low maintenance. I'm not like other girls. I've been her. I get it. Not trying to shame you, just trying to point this out because life is so much better when you are not the cool girl who can tolerate everything, because you deserve more than just tolerating a guy and putting your needs on the back shelf. You deserve to be on a pedestal and have your needs prioritized every single day, every second of every single day. Okay? And if he's your man, you will not have to be cooler than you actually are. If he is your match, he will love your crazy. He will love your high maintenance. I actually think that high maintenance women with like, what is that trend on TikTok? I actually think that it's like the black cat and the golden retriever. If you've seen that, that is the best relationship. If the woman is the black cat and the man is the golden retriever. And there's been studies on this that show that like it's actually the healthiest heterosexual relationships are when the man is a little bit more into the woman, because women will naturally pour more into their relationship than men. So when the man is more into the woman, then they like meet as equals, basically. Is that making sense? So in the long run, all that to say, it is way better to be high maintenance and have a man who can step up to that plate and appreciate that and want to give you all the things that you deserve. And honestly, when I even say high maintenance, like I doubt it's even that high of maintenance. Women are just taught to accept the bare minimum. So high maintenance is just like regular, and it's just perceived as high maintenance in this society because women are taught to just tolerate and skid through and just like you're so lucky if a man picks you. And finally, we're starting to see that narrative change because women don't need men to like own a home or start a business or like make money or have all those things that we used to need men for. So it's like finally starting to like that pendulum is swinging the other way, but it is still very much taught in so many Disney movies from like Cradle to the Grave that like a woman's role is to be there searching for the love of her life, and then she gets to live happily ever after once she finds her prince. And like, I love my man and he is amazing and he is like my best friend and best partner and I'm obsessed with him. And I'm always going to make sure I can stand on my own 2 feet no matter what, because A, that makes me a better partner in this relationship when I'm not being like codependent and weird and expecting him to save me. And B, like that's just a sensical thing to do, like because I am an individual and I want to have my own individual experiences and I want a partner who I enjoy our experiences together, but like I am my own person living my own life and that's it. And I love you and I'm so happy we are in this life together. But it's like I see so many women who are like tethered to their partner in a way where they don't get to experience life on their own terms. And that's so sad to me because we only get one life. Like, why would you want a partner who isn't like uplifting you and supporting you and your biggest cheerleader and who like wants the best for you and who wants to be there for you? And yeah, just all of that. That just feels like bare minimum for me because you want someone to add to your life. I see people who are in relationships where it doesn't add to their life. It like takes. And if that's the kind of relationship you're in, chances are a lot of those dynamics have to do with the fact that there's enough space in your relationship for misogyny. And a lot of where that stems from, honestly, is insecure men. Insecure men will do so much to like metaphorically kick their female partner, the woman in their life, in the back of the leg so she's like on the ground. Metaphorically. Maybe not, but yeah. So watch out for that. Watch out for insecure men. Insecure men are like a breeding ground for so much misogyny because they just cannot handle you being like a competent, complete person because that threatens them. And that is insane to think about because it's like, go to therapy. Go to therapy if that's how insecure you are. I think another one of the ways that misogyny is like showing up so blatantly is men's political ideologies. You should be able to disagree on certain things and like still be with someone. But if those things are like morals and human rights and like your own personal civil liberties and human rights, like if we're disagreeing on that, like, no, I don't think we should be able to disagree on that and like have those fundamental disagreements and be cool because like that's not just like differ of opinion on economic policy or like these like debatable things. That's like us not thinking that I deserve to make choices about my own body and have bodily autonomy. You know, you're picking up what I'm putting down. And I think at this point in time, like if you are not a man who is actively supporting women, actively going to marches, actively donating to abortion funds, actively educating yourself about what's happening in this country, like you probably don't really care about the fact that we're being turned into second-class citizens. And like, that is a red flag. That is a red flag. That is a red flag. If he loves you, but he thinks your feminism is too extreme, he doesn't love you. He loves the free emotional support. He loves the household management, and he loves the ego boost you provide, but he does not love you. If he loves you, but he's voting for politicians who think that EMTALA should be optional, you know, the law that tells hospitals they need to give life-saving care to pregnant women, then he doesn't actually love you. He thinks of you as property. He thinks of you as livestock. He thinks of you as an accessory. He thinks of you as arm candy. And we've talked about this in other episodes where it's like how normal it is for men to have a woman in their life that they love, but they don't like women. They don't respect women. And can you really love someone if you don't like or respect them? And these men that are in these relationships with women but are voting against them having bodily autonomy, I don't care what your religious beliefs are. Like, this is stripping away our freedoms. And if you are anti-abortion, then don't get one. But now you're making it more dangerous for people who want to get pregnant, who want to have a baby and carry it to term. So if you don't see the ways that that is like impacting women's safety and taking away our civil liberties, then you don't care about us. Then he doesn't care about you, babe. He does not care about you. If he doesn't want you to have the same rights that he does, he thinks of you as less than him. It's as simple as that. I don't know how else to explain it. A good sort of like question to ask yourself if you're dating someone and you're like, is this the guy for me? There are some things that I don't know if it's a yellow flag or a red flag, like, but other than that, he's really great. Ask yourself, if you had a daughter, would you want her to marry this man? Would you want her to marry him, date him, this kind of man? If the answer is no, you have your answer, honey. You got your answer. Other questions that you can ask yourself, or like things to look out for, is when he talks about his exes, does he respect them or does he frame them as crazy? Okay, obviously certain people are bad in relationships and that brings out each other's crazies. And like there are people who have had like really intense, insane exes. That's a thing. But if you're dating someone who's like all of their exes were like, he has like nothing positive to say about them and calls them all crazy, like maybe he's the one that's making them crazy. Maybe you're about to be one of those exes that he calls crazy in the future. You know what I mean? I think the quickest way, other than the politics of it all, the quickest way to tell if you are in a throuple with misogyny is if you feel like you are an unpaid intern waiting for that job within your relationship. So what do I mean by that? The same ways that unpaid interns are like, I'm doing this tough work and I'm sticking it out, but I'm going to get a job out of this and then it's going to look great on my resume and then I'll get into the career field I want and then all my dreams will come true in the future. Like all of that potential, if that's how you feel in your relationship where you're like, okay, it's hard now and I'm toughing it out, but he's gonna marry me and then we're gonna have this great life together and white picket fence and kids, like maybe you're dating him for his potential. And you know, when I met my man, there was a lot of potential I dated him for sure. And also like in the moment, things were good. How do I explain this? Like if you're only dating someone for their potential, they might never realize it. So if you're feeling like that unpaid intern waiting for it to turn into a job, you might be in a throuple with misogyny because that might be misogyny's sneaky way, sneaking in there, expecting you as the woman to tolerate him, help him, support him, nurture him. I've seen women do all of that. 5 years later, sitting there waiting for an engagement ring, didn't take that job opportunity so you could stay in the same place with him, or move from the city I was in and left my friends and job behind so I could be with this man just for like no commitment and just for like none of that potential to pan out. Are you bad at making choices, or is misogyny working its way in to your relationship, the threesome you did not sign up for? And I don't want to blame women. I don't, okay? I love women. I support women's rights and women's wrongs. And I want this to be a safe space where we can talk about the ways that we participate in this, that we uphold misogyny. That's the whole point here, is to unlearn our inner misogyny, because we have that and we're contributing to these situations. I have been that girl. So again, no shame. All love. You're on your journey. Lots of compassion, lots of love and light. If we were ever going to dive into pick me energy, this episode seems like the one where I really got to dig into this pick me energy. I mean, I know I do that every episode, but like, let's get into it. Why do some women defend misogyny without even realizing they're defending misogyny? Why do some women invite misogyny into their relationship, into their marital bed without even realizing it? Let's try and understand the pick me mindset. I think a lot of women uphold patriarchal norms because they were raised to believe that's where their value lies. They think that is what makes them valuable, as being a good wife, a good mother, but like live to attend him, just an appendage so that you never lift a finger. 24/7 baby machine so he could live out his picket fence dream. It's not an act of love if you make her. You make me do too much labor. The girls who get it, get it. The girls who don't. But for real, I love that song, and I am reciting it to you as poetry because just go listen to that song and you don't even need to listen to this episode because she says everything I want to say. The song's called Labor by Paris Paloma. You don't know what I'm referring to. Go, run, do not walk to listen to it. So many women uphold the patriarchy, and internalized misogyny is like courses through their veins because their whole life they've been taught that if they are this wife, mom, this, that's their purpose in life, that will bring them closer to God if they're religious. And that's their value. That's their value. And it's not. Your value is just like existing and living and enjoying life. So there. We solved misogyny. As I've talked about many times, one of the big pick me mindsets is the I'm not like other girls syndrome, which I am very guilty. I was that girl who thought that was like the nicest compliment ever, was to say I'm not like other girls. So been there, babe. But a reformed pick me, spreading her truth so that other pick me's can no longer be pick-me's and go live their best lives, because life is a lot better on the other side. I gotta tell you. The not like other girl syndrome, as I like to call it, is a version of internalized misogyny that like they join misogyny by othering women. I think one of the problems with misogyny is that they sort of like make women less than. And when you're like, I'm not like other girls, you are inherently being like other girls is a bad thing because women and girls suck. You know, those are the like dog whistles of that. And you might not even realize the way that you're doing that. I know that's like, I didn't at the time, but I was like, had a lot of internalized misogyny. So like that's just how I felt. And I'm very happy I don't feel that way anymore because women are amazing. And like other ways that misogyny sort of shows up, it works to convince women to seek male approval at any cost. And in this case, the cost is turning your back on women and trying to distance yourself from women to be better or cooler or whatever than women so that he picks you. And what a waste of time, babe. I waste many a time of my life doing that. Learn from me. Don't do that. I think the way that pick me behavior really shows up in relationships is tolerating blatant sexism to keep the peace. I mean, this goes for sexism, but also just like any crude or offensive behavior that you're not okay with if they say or do something, even if it's like making a joke and you don't appreciate it and you just like act like it's okay, like that is very pick me. And I think that's like the cost of laughing it off. I've done it before. Men make some sort of misogynistic, maybe it's a racist, maybe it's a homophobic, whatever, one of those like inappropriate jokes. If they're making misogynistic jokes, they're probably also making racially insensitive and homophobic jokes as well. Let's be real. So yeah, your man makes this kind of joke and you just laugh it off, or you make excuses for it because you think that's just easier than confronting him by being like, hey, I don't appreciate that, or hey, I don't think that's funny, or whatever. And, you know, I've been there. So many people just infantilize their men by either like by saying like, oh, he doesn't know any better. Like, again, that's where the like, I can help him, I can teach him, I can guide him sort of misogyny comes in. He doesn't know better, but don't worry. I'll figure it out. Like, no. Or like if he does something inappropriate in front of your friends or says something inappropriate in front of your friends, if you're quick to be like, oh, he's not like that when we're alone, he just puts up a front and he's like that with other people. Like, girl, run. If he is being like that in front of people, it does not matter what he's like when he's alone with you. You are getting a sliver of him, what he shows the world. Like, that's who he wants to be. Believe him. When people show you who they are, believe them. Another way that pick me behavior shows up in relationships is putting male validation above your own well-being. Again, you are probably in a throuple with misogyny if you are putting your man's validation above what is best for you and your health, your career, your peace of mind, your friendships, your family, whatever. If you're like centering him and his needs over all of that, you're probably got way too much room in your relationship for misogyny. Relationships are naturally a give and take. And it's not to say that you can't make sacrifices for each other. You know, in a relationship, you might not get your way every time, and that's okay. But it's more talking about like when it's like a bigger picture and a bigger pattern, and this is constantly how you're showing up in the relationship, is putting your man's validation and your man's needs above your own, like every single time, or like 9 times out of 10. That's what I'm talking about. Like there are times where I'm gonna center what my man needs over what I need, depending on what's going on in the moment. And there are a lot of times where like what I need and what I want is gonna be prioritized, again, depending on like the ebbs and flows of life. You know, like relationships are a balance. They are a give and take. I'm not saying to like live your life and like not be a supportive partner. I really love being a supportive partner. I love my husband. Like I want to be a supportive partner. I'm not saying not to do that. I'm just saying like overall trends and like broad strokes. Like if you are always centering your man's needs and wants, especially at the point where you're sacrificing your own needs and wants, you're sacrificing your own well-being, that's when it's a red flag. That makes sense. That is also very codependent and not a healthy relationship. Misogyny aside, like even if you have like friendships like that or whatever, like that is not a healthy breeding ground for a relationship. So 10 out of 10 do not recommend. And again, this is coming from a reform pick me who's been in relationships like this and who used to be very, very, very codependent before I was in therapy. So no judgment, and run to a therapist office now. That's what I would have told myself if I could have back then. So I am telling you. And as we said, a huge pick me behavior in relationships is defending toxic behaviors. We mentioned it earlier by saying like offensive jokes or whatever, but it's toxic behavior in general. You know, being like, he doesn't know how to express himself, so he punches holes in walls. Like, no, do not defend him. You look dumb and he's not worth defending. Let me hold your hand while I say that. Like, there's no point in defending a man who isn't going to take the time to better himself or work on himself, because you are going to be right back there in a week's time, 2 weeks time, whatever, making the same old excuses for the same old behavior because he's not going to change. So why is pick-meism so embedded in heteronormative relationships? I look back at when I was younger before I really got to know myself, and it's like, I feel like I was playing life on hard mode because so much of my personality and like my friends' personalities revolved around like finding a man, keeping a man. And like, that's just playing life on hard mode for no reason. I think somewhere along the way when I was younger, it was taught to me by like every vehicle that I could consume via media, teachers being like, yeah, you grow up, you get married, and then everything's fine. So like unconsciously, you're like, if I have a man in my life, everything will be fine. And the gag was that the men in my life, when I thought this way, were horrible to me. They were not good partners to me. They were probably not great people either. And so it didn't save my life and make everything better. It made things a lot harder, made things worse. And because I was so sucked in that, and my brain wasn't fully developed yet, you know, it took me a while to figure out. But we live and we learn. But I look back on that and it's like, no wonder I felt that way. And if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm such a pick me, like that's so embarrassing. Don't be embarrassed. It's no wonder it's not our fault. Don't blame yourself. Movies, media, everyone tells women and girls, cradle to the grave, that a man is coming to save them, that they need to make themselves available for that man, and that they should revolve their life around finding a man. Because like a man is the missing piece to their puzzle, and once they find him, they will be complete and blah, 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 blah. This is also normally done in a way that's like romanticizing the red flags. It's romanticizing the bad behavior, the warning signs of men, which again is teaching us from a young age to accept that, or teaching us from a young age that we should abandon ourselves for the prize at the end of the rainbow that is a man, which is like, yeah, come on. I think no one does this better than Friends. Rewatching Friends as an adult was shocking to me. Ross is literally one of the worst characters ever on TV. He treats Rachel horribly. He's super possessive. He freaks out when she gets a job promotion. He basically cheats on her and then blames it on her. Like, he is so toxic. And Ross is seemed as like, I remember when I was younger being like, Ross is the best. They make him seem like this great guy. And he's a walking red flag. He's a walking red flag. Rachel ends up with him. She deserves so much better. And what does she do? She gives up her Paris job to be with him. I'm pretty sure that's how it ends. So yeah, it's no wonder we're watching Rachel Green, one of the like most iconic women. Her whole story arc is like leaving this man who doesn't serve her, moving to New York, figuring it out on her own, ending up doing all of that just to end up with Ross. It's no wonder we put up with so many red flags, because it's like, oh, let's just end up with Ross from the beginning, and then everything would have been easier and better. And it's like we ended up being with our own Ross and staying with our own Ross, and you shouldn't leave him. Rachel should have left him for good. He did not treat her well. At so many points, he did not treat her well. With that said, heartbreaking to know that Rachel Green was a pick-me. So again, even the best of us can be pick-me's. Here are some questions to noodle on as we dive into Pick-Me Rehab. Does your partner actually respect your beliefs, or are they just tolerating them? If you are dating someone who's just tolerating your beliefs, they are probably not a good fit for you. They should respect your beliefs, want to know more about your beliefs, be curious about your beliefs, and be on the same page as you with them. Again, it doesn't have to be like you align 100% on every single thing, but there should be like, you guys should be on the same end of the spectrum with most things, especially things that influence how you want to live your life and how you want to raise your kids and how you want to be day to day and like those sorts of things. And the next question to noodle on is, do you feel like you have to shrink yourself to be more dateable? This sort of goes into that like wanting to be a cool girl and being super easy peasy thing, but it's a sort of a different version of that, where it's like if you are shape-shifting yourself to be more palpable to whoever you're dating, like that's not your person. Your person wants the weirdest, loudest, craziest version of you. So diving into today's Pick Me Rehab, I really want to help us all recover from male-centered dating, because dating should be about you finding the partner that's best for you and not you trying your hardest to get a man to approve you and validate you and show you that you're worthy. So here are some quick ways to deprogram from the male validation culture that we live in. Number one, first and foremost, do not make excuses for men's bad behavior. Hold them accountable, just like you would yourself, just like you would your bestie. Do not make excuses for men's bad behavior. Just don't. Point blank, period. If there's one thing you take away from this episode, it's that. Because as I said, when people show you who they are, believe them. Another very important one, ask yourself, do I like him, or do I just like that he likes me? Like, do you actually like this man? I know so many women, and like may be guilty of this of myself, is as soon as a man rejects you, leaves you, moves on, treats you like shit, you become like working overtime to get him back into your web. You're probably anxiously attached if that's how you react to that. Not securely attached at all. It's giving anxious attachment for sure. But B, it's like you are chasing that validation that I am good enough, that I am worthy, that atta girl pat on the head. You're chasing that and you probably don't even like him. Like, and you get so caught up in wanting to get him back into your web of love and appreciation. You're not even like, hey, do I even like this guy? Like you're in a trance. Snap out of it. Snap out of it. Because girl, no. Girl, no. I see so many of my friends do this with men, and it's so frustrating. I just want to shake them and want to shake younger versions of myself that did this and be like, all of this for what? For someone who you honestly don't even like, who you honestly, if they liked you, you would be like so annoyed and not want to spend any time with them. So ask yourself, do I actually like him? Because often you like him a lot less than you realize. And the things you like about him, they can't be things that you are like projecting into the future about him. They can't be things that you are like the potential of it all. They have to be things that you've actually experienced like more than once, not just like he did something nice once, so you think he's going to do it forever and he's like never done it other than that one time. You know what I mean? He was funny that one time, but he's like never made you laugh since, and you really want someone who's funny in your relationship. Like, he's not funny. He made you laugh at one joke and he hasn't made you laugh since. Move on. You don't like him. You're waiting for that other joke to hit and it's never going to come, girl. It's never going to come. And another really important way to deprogram male validation culture within you is to get comfortable saying no without guilt. You know, I think, again, this comes in dating where you don't have to go on a second date just because he liked the first date. You don't have to go home with him just because he's into you. You don't have to go to a sports game if you don't like sports and the guy you like likes sports. He can go with his friends and he can take you on a date that you actually want to enjoy. You can say no and you can ask for more, and you don't have to feel guilty about it. And like Pick Me Rehab 2.0 for the graduates, don't date insecure men. I know Pick Me Rehab is all about unlearning our stuff, but cheat code Don't date insecure men. Or I guess look out for the insecure men and be aware of it. And if he's threatened by your independence, he is not your partner. He is an insecurity with legs. Insecure men are a breeding ground for being in a relationship with your partner and misogyny at the same time. So while we're on the pick me topic, here's a nice little pick me detox checklist that if you don't know where to start, here are some things you can do. Unfollow men who have alpha male podcast takes. Just scroll by. I don't feel like I need to explain that one. And the next one, which builds off of this one, which might be a little harder, is don't date men who have alpha male podcast takes or follow men who have alpha male takes. Okay? Don't do it. You in danger, girl. Don't do it. Stop apologizing for having standards. You deserve the best. Know your worth, babe. And please, please, please let go of the idea that a man's opinion of you defines your worth. It does not. It does not. It is just one man's opinion. Your validation comes from within. Your worth comes from within. Your love, your joy, your everything comes from within, not from some dusty man who isn't texting you back and who doesn't know how to wash between the cheeks and who doesn't pick up his socks from the floor. Okay? So now that we've rehabbed our inner pick me, let's jump back into like the relationship of it all. And what does a misogyny-free relationship even look like? Because can it exist? I don't know. Jury's still out. In this patriarchy, it is very, very tricky to be misogyny-free fully. You know, I don't come here to unlearn our misogyny thinking there will be no misogyny around us ever. Obviously, that's the goal, but it is really hard to operate and live in this structure of the patriarchy without having some semblance of misogyny in certain places. So the goal isn't to eradicate it completely. I mean, yes, that is the goal, to eradicate it completely. But in the meantime, while we work on that larger goal, I think the goal is to like notice where the misogyny is so that you can figure out how you best want to deal with it. So some green flags for a misogyny-free relationship are he doesn't just tolerate feminism. He actively wants the world to be a more just and equitable place. That is like bare minimum. Honestly, that's not even a green flag. That's like a beige flag, if you ask me. But okay. He doesn't see him doing household chores as helping because he understands it's his home too. So like, of course you should both be unloading the dishwasher. Of course, like he should help out in his ways and you should help out in yours. Life hack, I think if there are things you really don't want to do and he really doesn't want to do, like it doesn't have to be equal. It can be equitable. Like for example, I don't like taking out the trash and recycling and my husband really doesn't like doing laundry. So he's in charge of the trash and recycling. I'm in charge of the laundry. You know, it works for us. I think these are all beige flags, honestly. They're bare minimum. We could call them green flags, but I guess they're beige flags. Another green flag is he values your autonomy. He values your goals and he values your needs just as much as his own. Another green flag, this is actually a pretty green flag. I will say it's not as beige as the other ones, is that he is unlearning his internalized misogyny or any like toxic masculinity he might have without needing you to hold his hand and guide him through it. And maybe you need to be the one who like kicks down that first domino, but he gets his own books about it, listens to his own podcast. He's on that side of the algorithm, whatever it is. And he takes interest in that without you having to be the one who prompts it every single time. A misogyny-free relationship definitely does not look like you being with a man who calls him a feminist, but like does zero feminist things and like doesn't care about equity for other people and is just happy to sit in his white male privilege. A misogyny-free relationship does not look like you having to fix a man to make him worthy of being in a relationship with you. You are not Bob the Builder, babe. You do not need to be going around fixing men. They are adults. They can figure their own stuff out. And if it doesn't align with you, like it is not your man. It is not your man. This is not Build-A-Bear. Put him down. Put it down. End the relationship. Move on. Don't waste your time. And maybe once you leave, he'll get his act together and come back around if that really is your guy, you know? A misogyny-free relationship definitely does not look like you having to tolerate any, and I mean any, level of misogyny just to avoid being alone. And yeah, I guess my most important message baked into all of that is do not date a man or fall in love with a man for their potential, because they will probably never reach that potential. Yeah, it's good to forward think in your relationship and see where people are going. And part of that is taking into the potential of who they could be. But if it's just potential that you're after, or it's predominantly potential that you are excited about or falling in love with, like it's trap. That is a trap. So yeah, let's make sure our relationships don't have enough space in it for misogyny. That means bare minimum boyfriends are out. Feminist kings who know how to do things themselves are in. I will say that like my husband was always very like respectful of women. His mom is the best. She is like a very strong woman and like taught her sons to like love and respect women. So shout out to my mother-in-law. But he has always been that way because of his upbringing and just who he is. So when I came along and was like rah feminist, we were like aligned with a lot of that, but like not obviously, but he was, you know, a lot more in his own bubble of like privilege and safety. And I had to be like, hey, it's really important with me that you come to a women's march with me. And he was kind of like, can you go with anyone else? And I had been to a few since like a lot of marches. I'm like the type of girl who's like out there protesting. So I had been to a lot of marches like without him. And I was like, no, I want you to come to this with me. It's very important with me that like we do this together. And this was probably like the third year that the women's march was happening. So there had been a few. And he was kind of like, I'll go, but like, I'm going for you because you're asking me to. It was like, it's like, not that he made it feel like it was like a favor to me, but he was definitely like, not like, yeah, excited about it. He was sort of like, okay, like it's important to you and I'll go with you. And I feel like thinking about him then to him now, like that march and just so much of like him being interested in the things that I'm interested in, i.e. like dismantling the patriarchy, he has really, really gotten to learn these things. He asks me questions about it. He learns about it on his own. He is keeping up with what's going on politically, which was something he wasn't super well versed in before we met. And like taking like, you know, I'll talk about what I'm researching for the podcast or what I'm excited to talk about on the podcast or what I'm talking about on my TikTok channel. And he'll be like, oh my gosh. And he'll like think about it. And then he'll come back from hanging out with friends and be like, oh my gosh, like this guy I was with said, you know, something about his wife being old ball and chain. And he'll be like really able to clock the ways in which like that is misogynistic. I mean, I'll give him credit. He really didn't like when men did that before I took him to a women's march. He always thought that was like very cringe. And he was very much like, why don't you like your partner? Why don't you like your partner? I want to spend all the time in the world with my partner. Like, why is this draining for you? So he was very much that way inclined anyways, but I see him be able to put some of like the things that I'm really excited into his life and like take it from there. And I think that's like what relationships should be. Likewise, like he's really into guy stuff like cryptocurrency and businessy things. And like he's taught me a lot about finance and stuff that like I wouldn't normally be into. So like we've been able to learn from each other, and that's what a partnership should be. But like it's hard to imagine being with someone who didn't respect or have curiosity or excitement about what I was excited about, even though it's so far from their interests and niche, you know, as we've dated. And he comes home so many times or watches something or reads something and comes back to me and he's like, wow, I can really tell the influence you've had on me because I was able to understand that in such a more profound way, or I was able to see that thing and really understand how that relates to like the larger systems of X, Y, and Z. And like, he really cares. And all that to say is like, maybe he started caring about this because I prompted him to, but now he, in his own ways, is excited and caring about this because he likes it, because we are aligned, because we're a good fit. I hope that made sense. I feel like that was a big long ramble, but here we go. And all that to say is men should be challenging their own sort of sexist or misogynist behaviors in their own life and within their own friend groups and relationships and dynamics. It shouldn't just be in theory, you know, they should be actively participating in that growth. But I think the easiest way to know whether you are in a throuple with misogyny is if you don't feel safe, heard, or equal in your relationship. So ask yourself, do I feel safe? Do I feel heard? And do I feel like an equal part of this relationship? And if the answer is no for any of those, you in danger, girl. You in danger. And on that note, let's wrap up with some feminist affirmations. Maybe take a deep breath, shake out any of the vibes, any of like, you know, maybe some of talking about all that misogyny brought some hard memories or hard realizations up for you. Shake it out for a second and take a big breath and repeat after me, or say it with me if you'd like, or just say it in your head. I do not exist to make men comfortable. I do not exist to make men comfortable. I definitely do not fucking exist to make men comfortable. I will not shrink myself to be more dateable. I will not shrink myself to be more dateable. I will not shrink myself to be more dateable. I am worthy of a relationship where I am fully seen, valued, and respected. I am worthy of a relationship where I am fully seen, valued, and respected. I am worthy of a relationship where I am fully seen, valued, and respected. Remember, as we close, that the love that you allow in your life should never, ever, ever come at the cost of your own self-worth. And if a man ever tells him your feminism or your humor or anything about your personality is too much, just remind him that carrying the entire relationship on your back is also a little too much. And on that note, let's get out of here. Thank you so much for joining this episode of Stay at Home Feminist. We are a newish show, so please like, comment, subscribe, do all the things. Let us know how you're feeling about us. We want to hear from you. What other topics do you want me to talk about? I'm very ready to take suggestions from the audience. Let me know. So yeah, thank you so much for joining. I hope to see you next week. Our next episode of Stay at Home Feminist, we are diving in to how the war on women's rights is pretty much just 3 Christian nationalist babies stacked into a trench coat pretending to be a serious political movement. You know, light topics like that. See you next time, besties. Bye.